My name is Emily Carter, and the moment my mother-in-law lifted her champagne flute at our New Year's party and announced, "Tonight we finally fix your biggest mistake," I felt the whole room lean in like it was hungry. She nodded toward the red envelope she'd taped to the center of the dessert table, bright, glossy, the kind she used to hand out like a weapon. My husband, Jason Lynn, stood beside her with that familiar tight smile, the one he wore when he wanted peace more than truth. Behind them, his father adjusted his cufflinks like this was a business meeting. My own parents sat on our couch, confused and polite, holding paper plates like shields. And then my mother-in-law said the words she'd been trying to force into my life for 6 years, only now she said them into a microphone. "Emily is stepping back from her job," she declared. "She will focus on being a real Lynn wife, and we will make sure our family finally has a grandson." Applause started thin, uncertain until my mother-in-law clapped first, sharp and commanding, and a few of Jason's relatives followed like trained birds. I looked at the mic in her hand. I looked at the envelope on the table. Then I looked at my kids, Lily and Noah, both in matching gold party hats, their little faces lit by string lights, their eyes tracking me like they could feel the air turning. Something inside me went very quiet, because that wasn't an announcement. It was an execution, and I had come to that party with receipts. If you'd met me before I married into the Lynn family, you would have called me stubborn in the best way. The girl who stayed late in the computer lab at the University of Washington because the code wouldn't compile and she refused to lose. The woman who walked into her first product manager interview in downtown Seattle with a borrowed blazer and a notebook full of questions, because she believed preparation was a kind of respect. I grew up in Tacoma, the daughter of a public school teacher and a union electrician. We weren't fancy, but we were solid. My parents fought sometimes, mostly about whose turn it was to do the dishes, or whether my dad's truck really needed another expensive repair, but nobody in my house ever confused love with control. Then I met Jason at a friend's rooftop barbecue overlooking Lake Union. He was charming without being loud, a software engineer with gentle eyes, and the kind of laugh that made you relax your shoulders without realizing you'd been holding them up all day. When he asked me out, it felt easy. For the first year, it stayed easy. We hiked. We argued about pineapple on pizza. We built IKEA furniture and swore, and then kissed in the sawdust. He told me his parents were traditional. I thought I knew what that meant. My grandma still insisted on formal place settings for Thanksgiving, and refused to call it stuffing, because it's dressing if you make it right. Traditional felt like quirks. Jason's idea of traditional was different. The first time I met his mother, Mei Lin, she didn't smile when she hugged me. She inspected me. Not my face, my posture, my hands, my nails, the way my shoes hit the floor. We were in her home in Bellevue, pristine, with family photos arranged like an altar. In every picture, Jason stood in the middle, golden child, proof of success. May offered tea and asked, "How much do you make?" Like she was asking if I preferred honey or sugar. I blinked. Jason laughed nervously. "Mum," she waved a hand, "it's important. Wife must contribute, or else she becomes lazy. But not too much, or else she becomes hard to control." She said that last part in Mandarin, assuming I wouldn't understand. I understood enough. Jason squeezed my knee under the table in apology. I squeezed back, telling myself, different culture, he's worth it. That was my first mistake. Because the Lynn family didn't want a daughter-in-law. They wanted a role. A woman who would bow to elders, give up her opinions at the door, and produce a son on schedule like it was a quarterly deliverable. And the worst part? For a while, Jason wanted that too, just quietly, in the way a man can want something without admitting it, because he's never had to pay the price. We got engaged the following winter. Jason proposed at Discovery Park, drizzle turning my hair into a mess. Cheeks pink from cold and happiness. He was shaking when he opened the ring box. He looked like a man choosing courage. I said yes because I loved him, and because I believed love meant we would choose each other when it mattered. May treated our engagement like a negotiation. At the engagement dinner, she slid a red binder across the restaurant table. Inside were pages printed in English and Chinese. Family expectations, she called them. Holiday schedules. Appropriate gifts for elder relatives. A section titled Children. Jason's father, Guo Lin, sat beside her in silence. He rarely spoke. When he did, it was like a gavel. May tapped children. First year of marriage. You start trying. First child must be boy. I laughed because I genuinely thought she was joking. May didn't laugh. Jason's hand tightened around his water glass. Mom, we can't control. May's eyes flicked to him, and he stopped, like a dog trained with a whistle. I felt my stomach drop, just a little, but I told myself, this is just talk. Wedding planning became the first battlefield. May wanted a banquet hall in Chinatown, a tea ceremony so elaborate it required rehearsals, and my parents to show respect by paying for specific things, cash gifts for elders, a certain number of tables, an exchange that felt less like tradition and more like a bill. My parents were kind, but baffled. We'll contribute what we can, my mum told me quietly, but we're not buying you like a car. May heard that and decided she didn't like my mother. On the wedding day, May criticised my dress because my shoulders were visible. You look like you were going to the club, she whispered, then smiled for photos, like she hadn't just tried to cut me down. I should have paid attention to how easily Jason let her. The first year of marriage, I tried to outwork the tension, be a good wife, good employee, good bridge, between cultures. I didn't realise bridges get walked on from both sides. When I got promoted to senior PM, Jason was proud at first. Then May found out and frowned like I'd brought home a bad report card. Too busy, she said. When you have children, you cannot do this. We'll figure it out, I replied. May smiled thinly. No, you will figure it out. Jason will focus on his career. That is what men do. Jason didn't correct her. I got pregnant a few months later. We told both families at Thanksgiving. My mum cried. My dad hugged Jason like he'd gained a son. May asked, "Did you go to doctor to confirm it is boy?" I stared. "That's not..." May waved. "If it is girl, you try again soon. It is okay. Family must have son." Jason smiled tightly. "We just want a healthy baby." May nodded like he'd said something adorable and naive. Yes, healthy, and boy. When our first baby was born, she wasn't a boy. Lily arrived in a February snowstorm, screaming like she'd been furious at the world for making her wait. Dark hair, my chin, Jason's eyes. Perfect. May held her for 30 seconds, then handed her back like a hot plate and said, "Next time." I was stitched up, exhausted, my body still shaking from labour, and all I wanted was for Jason to say, "Stop." He didn't. He kissed Lily's head and whispered, "It's okay. She'll come around." As if my daughter's worth was a mood his mother might improve on. The next 2 years were diapers and deadlines. Breastfeeding while answering Slack messages. Sprint planning, with a baby sleeping on my chest. The American working mom choreography. Do everything. Apologize for existing. And smile, so nobody calls you difficult. May treated my motherhood like an audition. "You hug too much," she'd say. "You make her weak." Or, "You let her choose clothes. She will become disrespectful." Every visit was a lesson in how I was wrong. Then May started saying it more directly, to Jason, in front of me. "One daughter is fine, but you need son. Your cousin has 2 sons already. People ask me why my son has only girl." One day in her kitchen, after she criticised how I cut strawberries for Lily, I snapped. "May," I said, voice shaking. "Lily is not only girl. She is your granddaughter." May looked at me like I'd barked. Guo didn't look up from his newspaper. Jason sighed like he was tired. Can we not do this right now? Not do this. As if my dignity was a hobby that could be postponed. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I sat on the edge of our bed and said, "Jason, I need you to back me up." Out loud. He rubbed his face. "You know how she is." "I know," I said. "That's the problem." He didn't answer. He stared at the wall like it had instructions. That was the first time I felt truly alone in my marriage. A year later, I got pregnant again. Jason acted thrilled. May acted triumphant. She showed up at our apartment with a bag of dried herbs and told me to drink them every morning. "For strong boy," she said. I told her no. She pretended not to hear. When the ultrasound tech said, "It's a boy," I felt relief and anger, at the same time relief, because the pressure might loosen, anger, because the relief felt like betrayal. Jason cried, "He's healthy," May said. Finally, Noah arrived in October, squishy and loud, with Jason's nose and my stubbornness. May held him like a trophy, and suddenly, in her eyes, I became acceptable. Not respected, not loved, acceptable. The comments shifted. "You did good. See? If you listen, you can do right thing." Her affection was conditional, and now I had proof living in her voice. Jason relaxed, like the family had passed some invisible test. For a brief, dangerous moment, I thought maybe we were through the worst. I was wrong, because once May got the grandson she wanted the rest. My time, my body, my children, raised in her image. It started with small invasions. She bought Noah's first shoes and insisted he wear them only when she was present, because Grandma first steps must be with family. She showed up at Lily's preschool holiday performance and pushed past my mother to sit in the front row, then complained afterward that Lily's song was too American. She referred to my children as my grandson and your daughter, as if Lily belonged to me, but Noah belonged to the Lynn bloodline. I tried to set boundaries like polite fence posts. Please call before coming over. Please don't give them sugar before bedtime. Please don't tell Lily she's too loud for being excited. May heard every request as an insult, and Jason kept smoothing it, translating my boundaries into something his mother wouldn't take personally. The problem with that strategy is simple. You can't make someone respect you by making them comfortable. When Noah turned 1, May hosted a banquet in Seattle's International District. She invited relatives I'd never met. She insisted on a microphone for speeches. During her toast, she said, "Our grandson will carry the Lynn name far. Emily is lucky she gave us a boy." I sat there with Lily in my lap, watching my daughter's face fall, and something turned sharp in my chest. Afterward, I told Jason, "If she says things like that again in front of Lily, I'm leaving. I don't care whose birthday it is." Jason looked hurt, like I'd threatened to ruin his favourite movie. "She didn't mean it like that." "How else could she mean it?" I asked. He opened his mouth, closed it. That silence became our new language. The real escalation began the summer Noah turned 2. My team at work was gearing up for a major launch. Late nights, early mornings, exhausting, yes, but it made me feel alive. May decided it was the perfect time to start a campaign. She called Jason daily at lunch, loud enough that I could hear her through the phone. "Tell Emily she must quit. Children need mother, not daycare. Daycare is for people who don't love family." Jason murmured, "We'll talk about it," then looked at me with that helpless expression that used to make me soften. One night, after the kids were asleep, he sat at the kitchen table and said, "Maybe you could go part-time." I stared. "Is this what you want? Or what she wants?" He hesitated. That half-second was everything. "Emily," he said finally, "you're always stressed." I laughed, wrong. "I'm stressed because I'm carrying our life, while you let your mum treat me like an employee." He flinched. "That's not fair." "What's not fair is your mother saying our kids are damaged because I work." Jason's voice went small. "She just wants what's best." And I realized in Jason's mind, best had always been defined by his mother. "I'm not quitting," I said. "I'm not shrinking my career, so your mother can feel powerful." He nodded slowly, like he was accepting a difficult truth, then added, "Can you at least stop challenging her, just for now? Stop challenging her. In other words, be smaller." That night, I cried into a towel in the bathroom so my kids wouldn't hear their mother breaking. 2 weeks later, my manager called me into a meeting. Seattle grey outside the windows. I walked in expecting timeline questions. Instead, Sabrina closed the door and said, carefully, "Emily, did you request a leave of absence?" My stomach dropped. "No." She turned her laptop toward me. An email, formal English, slightly stiff. It said I was stepping away to focus on family obligations and asked about appropriate transition planning. signed with my name, but not from my account. I went cold. That's not me. Sabrina's eyes narrowed. I didn't think so. HR wanted confirmation. I drove home with my grip locked on the steering wheel and walked into our apartment to find May in my kitchen, stirring soup like she belonged. Lily coloured at the table. Noah stacked blocks on the floor. Jason looked up from the couch. Oh, Mum just came by to help. Help. I set my bag down slowly. May, did you email my workplace? May didn't pretend to be confused. She smiled. I sent message to show you are good mother. Good mother stays home. You impersonated me. May shrugged. You are too busy to do right thing. I hope. I sent Lily to her room with Noah. Voice too calm. Then I turned back. You cannot contact my job. Ever. May's eyes hardened. You speak to elder with respect. Jason stood, hands raised. Emily, let's just... No, I snapped. She crossed a line. May's voice rose. Your tone is disgraceful. American women too loud. I looked at Jason. Are you okay with what she did? His face twisted. He looked down. She shouldn't have done that. Then tell her. He swallowed. Mom, you can't email her work. May stared like he'd slapped her. I did it for you. For family. Jason sagged. Please don't. Please don't. Not don't. He was still asking her. May looked at me with a cold smile. See? Even my son knows you are too much. That night I didn't fight. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. I opened my laptop and started a folder. Me Eileen. Inside it, I saved the email screenshot, timestamps, exact quotes. Because when someone tries to control you, their favorite weapon is denial. Receipts take that weapon away. For the next few months, I lived 2 lives. In one, I packed lunches, ran stand-ups, kissed boo-boos, and smiled at daycare teachers. In the other, I gathered evidence like a woman building a raft while the water rose. I changed passwords, turned on 2-factor authentication, reported everything to HR. IT traced the spoofed email to an IP address in Bellevue. At home, I watched Jason. I noticed how often his phone lit up with his mother's name, how he left the room to answer, how he started saying we when he meant my mum and I decided. One night, I opened our shared calendar to add Lily's dentist appointment and saw something I hadn't scheduled. Fertility consult, 10 a.m, Evergreen. I clicked details. Family balancing options, male selection consultation. My hands went numb. Evergreen was a clinic people used when they wanted science to obey their will. After the kids were asleep, I sat at the kitchen table and asked, Jason, what is this? He froze, paused, like his body was running calculations. It's nothing. I turned the laptop. Male selection consultation is nothing? He swallowed. Mum wanted information. Information for what? She thinks we should have another boy. For the family. We have 2 kids, I said. I'm not a factory. Jason got quietly defensive. It would just be a consult. You scheduled it without talking to me. With your mother. He flinched. You're overreacting. Overreacting. That word hit harder than the appointment. Did you give her our medical information? His silence answered. Cancel it, I said. He hesitated. That hesitation was a betrayal all by itself. Cancel it, I repeated. He nodded. Okay. No apology. No accountability. Just okay. Like he was closing a browser tab. A week later, Lily came home from preschool unusually quiet and asked, Mummy, are you going to go away? My heart stopped. No. Why? She twisted her fingers. Grandma May said if I'm naughty, Mummy has to leave because Mummy doesn't listen, and then Daddy will live at Grandma's house, and Noah will be with them because boys stay with Daddy. Heat rushed up my neck. I knelt, held her hands. Listen to me. You are not the reason for anything. Grandma May should not have said that. Mummy is not going anywhere. Promise? Promise. That night, I told Jason exactly what Lily said. His first response was automatic. She didn't mean it like that. I slammed my palm on the counter hard enough a spoon rattled. Stop saying that. It's always like that. Jason looked startled, then annoyed. Emily, you're scaring the kids. Your mother is scaring the kids. He rubbed his hair. She's worried. She thinks you're pulling us away. Maybe we should be pulled away. His eyes widened. You don't mean that. I do, I said. And if you won't protect our children from her manipulation, I will. Jason's jaw clenched. So what? You're going to ban my parents? I'm going to set rules, I said. No threats, no favoritism, no talking about me like I'm disposable. If she can't follow that, she won't have access. Jason went cold. You don't get to decide that alone. I looked at him. Watch me. In December, May announced she was hosting New Year's at our place. She didn't ask. We will do New Year at your home, she told Jason. Emily must show family she is committed. She will cook. Jason told me like it was weather. Mom wants to do New Year at our place. Do you want to? I asked. He shrugged. It would keep her happy. That's not an answer, I said. He sighed. It's one night. I stared at him and felt strange clarity. Fine, I said. We'll host. Relief washed over his face like he'd won. He didn't realize I'd just scheduled my courtroom. That night I called my best friend Tasha, an employment lawyer who tells the truth like she's handing you a flashlight. I told her everything. The email, the fertility consult, Lily's words. Tasha went quiet, then said, Emily, you're not dealing with annoying in-laws. You're dealing with coercion and interference, and your husband is enabling it. Do you want to stay married? She asked. I thought about Jason holding Noah on his shoulders at the park, the way he apologized with flowers instead of boundaries. I want my kids safe, I said. Then we build you options. I met with a family attorney, Marisol Grant, kind eyes, steady voice. She asked questions that made my throat tighten. Any threats? Any interference with employment? Any talk of taking the children? I told her the truth. Marisol nodded. You are not overreacting. And you need documentation. You need to know your rights. Grandparents don't get custody because they want a grandson. Relief hit me like oxygen. Marisol helped me build a plan. Not revenge like fireworks, loud and messy. Revenge like architecture clean, legal, unignorable. Step 1. Protect my job. I filed a formal report with HR. IT flagged spoofed domains. Legal drafted a cease and desist. Step 2. Protect my finances. I opened an account in my name and redirected my paychecks. I didn't drain joint funds. I just stopped letting my work subsidize my own disrespect. Step 3. Protect my kids. A parenting journal. Dates, quotes, witnesses. I hated it. I did it anyway. Step 4. Test Jason. Marisol said, see if he'll set boundaries in writing. If he refuses, you'll have clarity. So I drafted a boundary letter. Basic rules. No contacting my employer. No medical discussions without consent. No threats or favoritism around the kids. Visits by invitation only. Consequences. Reduced contact. I asked Jason to sign it with me. He read it like a math test. This is intense. It's basic, I said. If we send this, it'll be a war. It's a war she already started. He pushed the paper away. I can't sign this. There it was. Not, I need time. Not, I'm scared. Just, I can't. He stood. You're asking me to choose between you and my parents. You're already choosing, I said. You just want me to pretend you aren't. He snapped. Fine. Do whatever you want. He walked out. And in that silence, something settled. I wasn't going to beg a grown man to pick his own family. I was going to protect myself and my children. So I let New Year's happen. I let May plan it. Invite every auntie and uncle who ever judged me. Assign me menu items like I was staff. Because people who crave control get sloppy when they think they've already won. And I was done losing quietly. New Year's Eve arrived cold and clear, air sharp like glass, our house filled by 6. May had transformed my living room into something that felt half celebration, half inspection. Red lanterns hung beside my neutral American garland like competing flags. A long table was covered in red cloth, and trays of food dumplings, noodles, sticky rice cakes, and also the things my parents recognized: a spiral ham, deviled eggs, a cheese board my mum insisted we bring. May smiled at my mother like they were friends. My mum smiled back because she didn't know the history behind May's politeness. Jason's relatives filled the space with Mandarin, laughter, and side eyes. Someone asked me, "So when you stop working?" Like the ball drop depended on it. I smiled and said, "I'm not," and she blinked like I'd spoken nonsense. May stayed close to me all night, offering helpful instructions in a voice that carried. "Lily needs more tights. Girls must look proper. Noah should not play with that. Boys need strong things." Each comment was a small cut. Jason drifted between rooms, laughing too loudly, avoiding my eyes. At 8:30, May pulled me into the kitchen, under the pretense of checking noodles. She shut the pantry door behind us and lowered her voice. "Tonight you will behave. No drama, no embarrassment. And if you behave?" I asked. May smiled thinly. "If you behave, we forgive you for being stubborn. We help you." "Help me do what?" "Quit job. Stay home. Let me teach you. Good wife does not fight family." "I'm not quitting," I said. Her face hardened. "Then you will not like what happens." I felt the old fear rise. Fear of being the villain. Fear of conflict. Fear of losing my life. Then I remembered Lily's voice. "Promise?" The fear hardened into something else. "You don't get to decide that," I said. May's eyes narrowed. "We'll see." Back in the living room, May asked for a group photo. She pulled Jason to the center, pulled Noah into his arms, gestured for Lily to stand at the edge like a decoration. I stepped forward and took Lily's hand. "She stands with me." May's smile twitched. Someone snapped photos. The moment passed. But May didn't forget. At 10:15, a woman I didn't recognize approached me too formal for a house party, a folder under her arm. "Emily Carter?" "Yes." "I'm Miss Kwon. I'm an attorney." My skin prickled. May appeared beside her like she'd been summoned. "Ah," she said, pleased. "You met?" Jason's head snapped up, confused for half a second, then his expression shuttered. That was when my stomach dropped for real, because this wasn't a surprise to him. Miss Kwon held out the folder. "Mrs. Lin asked me to provide documentation regarding family arrangements." I took the folder. Inside were papers. Not just any papers. A petition for temporary guardianship, a proposed parenting plan, and an agreement stating I would reduce employment obligations and grant extended visitation to the Lin grandparents, including overnight stays, to support cultural identity. "What is this?" I asked, though I already knew. May's voice went sweet for the room. "Just structure. You are busy. We help. This is normal in family." I looked at Jason. "You knew about this." He stepped closer, eyes pleading. "Emily, it's not what you think. Mum is scared you'll take the kids away. So, your solution is to bring an attorney to our house and hand me guardianship paperwork at a party?" May lifted her chin. "We protect children." My mum appeared behind me, pale. "Emily, what's going on?" "It's okay," I lied softly. "Just a conversation." May touched my elbow like she owned my body. "Come, we talk privately. Sign now. After midnight. Fresh year. Fresh start." I realized the party wasn't a celebration. It was leverage. Witnesses. Pressure. Optics. A signature while music played and people watched. Fine. If she wanted an audience, I'd give her one. I took a slow breath and said, "Okay." Jason sagged in relief. May smiled, like she'd won. "I just need to grab something," I added. I walked to my office, closed the door, opened the drawer where my own folder lived. Receipts, printouts, a USB drive, the cease and desist draft, and at the bottom, documents Marisol had prepared. Not guardianship, protection. I slid everything into a clean manila envelope. Then I texted Tasha. "It's happening." She brought an attorney and guardianship paperwork. I'm about to go public. Tasha replied, record. Stay calm. Remember, you're not creating the scene they did. I opened my recording app and walked back into the living room. At 11:15, May took the microphone. Everyone, listen. We start new year with good news. The room quieted. May smiled wide. We are grateful for family, tradition, honor, sacrifice. Tonight, Emily will make big step. She will stop working and focus on home, and we will ensure our family will have more sons. I stepped forward. May, before you announce my life, can I clarify something? May's smile tightened. What? I held up Miss Kwan's folder. Is this the big step you mean? The guardianship petition you brought to my house? A ripple went through the room. Guardianship? My mum whispered, horrified. May snapped. It is just paperwork. Don't embarrass family. I nodded. You mean like the email you sent to my workplace pretending to be me? Silence hit like a dropped plate. May laughed. Brittle. What email? I looked around the room. 3 months ago, someone created an email address, one letter off from mine, and contacted my manager, requesting a leave of absence to focus on family obligations. My company traced it to Bellevue. Jason's face went white. May's jaw tightened. And she scheduled a fertility consult for male selection options without my consent. Aunties gasped. Someone covered her mouth. My dad's face went red. May lifted her chin. You are lying. I smiled. Okay. I set a small Bluetooth speaker on the coffee table and tapped my phone. May's voice filled the room recorded. Clear. If you behave, we will forgive you. If you make trouble, you will be alone. Children are Lynn blood. The room froze. May lunged a half step. Turn that off. I didn't. Another clip. I sent message to show you a good mother. I help. My mum's hand flew to her chest. Emily, she did that to you. I nodded once, eyes locked on May. Then I looked at Jason. And Jason knew, I said. Jason flinched. Emily. I held up the last page of Miss Kwan's folder and turned it toward the room. Jason's signature. A consent form granting May access to discuss our children's records. He signed this, I said. He gave his mother access, without telling me. Guo Lin finally spoke, voice flat. Jason, is this true? Jason opened his mouth. No sound came. May tried to perform again. This is private family matter. Emily is emotional. American women always making drama. My dad stepped forward. Don't you talk about my daughter like that. My mum stood too, voice shaking but clear. She is not emotional. She is being abused. The word hung there. May snapped. We give her everything. We gave her family name. Honor. I took the microphone gently from May's hand. You didn't give me honor, I said. You demanded obedience. I turned slowly, making eye contact with as many people as I could. I'm not quitting my job. I'm not having more children to satisfy anyone's ego. And I'm not signing guardianship paperwork in my own living room like I'm signing away my spine. May hissed. You shame us. Yes, I said, because you only understand consequences when they're public. Jason stepped toward me, voice low. Please, not like this. Like what? I asked. Like your mother wanted in front of everyone? Or like the truth? He whispered. I didn't want it to get this bad. Then you should have stopped it when it was small. May shouted. Emily, you are my daughter-in-law. You will respect me. I set the mic down. Then I opened my envelope and pulled out a different set of papers. I handed them to Jason. His hands shook. What is this? A petition for temporary parenting orders, I said. A request for a restraining order if your mother continues harassment. And divorce papers. The room didn't just go quiet. It stopped. Jason's voice cracked. Emily, no. I stayed calm. You brought an attorney to my party to take my choices from me. I'm bringing mine to take them back. May lunged for the papers. My dad moved between us instantly. Touch my daughter again, he said quietly, and we'll have a different kind of paperwork. May froze. On the microwave, the clock read 11:58. People started counting down out of habit, then stopped because nobody was celebrating anymore. May grabbed the microphone again, desperate. No, we will not end year like this. I stepped back, picked up Noah, and held Lily's hand. Lily's eyes were wide. Noah leaned sleepy against my shoulder. I turned to Jason one last time. If you want to be a husband and father, I said, prove it in court and in therapy, not by hiding behind your mother. Emily, please. I didn't yell. I didn't insult him. I just said the sentence I'd been practicing for months. I'm done being managed. And I walked out of my own New Year's party, with my children. My parents followed. Behind us, the house was still full of people, still full of food, still full of decorations. But the power had left the room, and Maylin could feel it. Because the last thing I heard before the door shut was her voice raw, furious, screaming at Jason like he was the one who'd failed her. We spent that night at my parents' house in Tacoma. Lily fell asleep, clutching her stuffed bunny. Noah slept curled against me like a warm comma. I lay awake on my childhood bed and shook with delayed adrenaline. My mum stroked my hair. I didn't know. I didn't want to burden you, I whispered. My dad stood in the doorway, anger simmering. You didn't burden us, he said. They did. On January 2nd, Marisol filed the paperwork. On January 3rd, my company's legal team forwarded impersonation evidence to local authorities. The officer was kind but blunt. To treat it as fraud, we needed documentation. So I gave them everything. May began a new campaign. Voicemails, threats. We take grandchildren back. My dad saved each one like gold. Jason called constantly. Sometimes he cried. Sometimes he was angry. Sometimes he begged. The hardest calls were the bargaining ones. What if we move farther away? What if we do counselling? What if I tell Mum to stop? What if? All the things he could have done before he let his mother bring an attorney into my home. The first court hearing came mid-January. I wore a navy blazer and minimal makeup, not to look perfect, but to look like myself, competent, calm, not the emotional American woman May described. Jason arrived with his attorney, May and Guo behind him. May wore black like it was a funeral. Maybe it was. When the judge asked about the guardianship petition, May tried to speak. Jason's attorney stopped her. The judge turned to Jason. Mr. Lin, why would your parents be seeking temporary guardianship while you are married and living with the children? Jason flushed. They were worried. They thought Emily might leave. And did she leave because she wanted to, or because she felt threatened? Jason didn't answer. Marisol presented the evidence. Impersonation email, fertility consult, threats, voicemails. The judge's eyebrows rose at the fertility consult. Was this appointment scheduled with the mother's knowledge? No, Your Honour, Jason's attorney admitted. The judge looked at May. Ma'am, did you schedule medical appointments for your daughter-in-law? May lifted her chin. It is family. In my courtroom, the judge said, family does not override consent. That sentence felt like sunlight after years of fog. Temporary orders were issued. Jason got supervised visitation twice a week, at a neutral location, until he completed a parenting course and started individual therapy. May and Guo got no direct contact with the children until review. Jason was ordered to stop sharing my employment or medical information with his parents. And the judge warned May. Further harassment could result in a restraining order. May didn't like paperwork when it wasn't hers. But she couldn't out-yell a court order. Over the next months, Jason did something I didn't fully expect. He went to therapy. At first, I assumed it was performative. Then, he started sending emails, not texts, acknowledging what he'd done. I didn't protect you. I thought keeping peace was love. I was wrong. I told my mum no, she argued. I told her no, again. I didn't respond right away. Change that arrives only after consequences doesn't feel like change. Spring came. Cherry blossoms opened along the waterfront. The kids wore rain boots for fun. I moved into a small rental in Tacoma. 2 bedrooms, a tiny fenced yard, a kitchen that felt like mine, because nobody else's rules lived there. I kept my job. I got promoted again. The launch succeeded. Sabrina recommended me for a director-track role. May tried to shrink me into a domestic role to make herself feel safe. Instead, she lit a fire under me. At the next hearing, the judge reviewed Jason's progress. Parenting classes, therapy intake, compliance with visits. Notes described him as engaged and gentle. The judge asked me, "Do you believe Mr. Lin is capable of co-parenting respectfully?" I paused. Capability wasn't the issue. Courage was. "I believe he can," I said carefully. "If he maintains boundaries with his parents, if his mother is involved, it becomes unsafe." The judge expanded Jason's visitation to unsupervised daytime visits with a strict condition: no contact between the children and Jason's parents. May looked at Jason like he'd betrayed her. For once, Jason didn't flinch. He didn't look at her. He looked at our kids. The divorce finalized in early summer through mediation, shared legal custody, a structured schedule, and the most important clause, any third-party contact violations, meaning May, would reduce his parenting time. Consequences, in writing. May never got what she wanted. She never got to raise my children into her image. She never got to claim my labor and call it tradition. In the end, she got the one thing people like her fear more than anything. She lost control. The last time I saw her in person, she stood near the courthouse steps, watching me buckle Noah into his car seat. "You think you are strong," she said. "I am. You broke family." I met her eyes. "No, I broke the cage." She had no comeback. Because comebacks only work when the other person is still trying to please you. That night, after I put the kids to bed, I sat on the porch with tea and listened to the quiet. Not the tense quiet of a house where you're waiting for criticism. The soft quiet of safety. Tradition can be beautiful, but when tradition is used to erase you, it's not tradition anymore. It's a weapon, and the only way to disarm it is to stop handing over your life like a peace offering. My children don't need a perfect family photo. They need a mother who can look them in the eyes and say, "You are safe with me." That's what I chose. And if anyone tries to call it disrespect again, they can say it from a distance.